Welcome to another deep dive with us. This time you brought us some intriguing excerpts from Gabor Maté's When the Body Says No.
Yeah, it's a fascinating book.
It is.
It really is.
It explores how our emotions can, like especially the ones we bottle up, can manifest in physical problems,
Yeah,
especially those stress-related illnesses, right?
absolutely.
So we're not medical professionals, we're not giving medical advice here,
Not at all.
but we're really interested to dig into Maté's ideas and see what resonates with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Maté uses some pretty interesting case studies, real life stories
Mhm.
to illustrate this connection.
Yeah, one of the examples is this CEO, right? Who's
Mhm.
promoting shark cartilage as like a cancer treatment,
Right.
but at the same time, he's secretly battling cancer himself.
Oh, wow.
What do you make of that?
That's that's a tough one, right? It
Yeah.
really makes you think about the pressure to appear strong and successful,
Yeah.
even when we're privately struggling. Maté, he argues that this kind of emotional suppression, especially if it's chronic stress,
Yeah.
it can really manifest as physical issues.
So it's not like every illness is caused by, holding back our
No,
feelings,
of course not.
but it sounds like there's a definite connection, especially when it comes to stress.
Absolutely. There is a connection there,
Yeah.
and it's something that we should acknowledge. And,
Yeah.
it's mind-body connection is real.
Yeah.
And, Mate digs into the science behind it, too.
Oh, really?
Like, he explains this thing called the HPA axis.
So what axis?
HPA axis,
HPA.
which
Okay.
basically this system in our bodies
Okay.
that links psychological stress to the physical changes.
Okay, I think we need to break this down a little bit.
Yeah.
HPA axis, it sounds a little technical.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
For me, anyway.
So think of it like a bridge
Right.
between your thoughts and your feelings
Mm-hmm.
and the actual physical workings of your body.
Hmm.
So when you experience stress, this HPA axis system is triggered and it releases these hormones like cortisol.
Okay.
And if this is happening all the time chronically, it could really impact your organs.
Wow.
Your systems, your
Yeah.
immune system, your heart, even your gut.
So holding on to stress, really can make us sick.
It can definitely contribute.
Mm-hmm.
And Mate, he doesn't just talk about the science. He really brings it to life with those stories. Remember the CEO
Yeah.
pushing the shark cartilage?
Yeah.
He was under so much pressure to project this image of success,
Mm-hmm.
even while his own body was dealing with cancer.
So he couldn't allow himself to be vulnerable and say, hey, I need help.
It seems like it.
I wonder if that impacted his health even more.
It's definitely something to think about. And Mate highlights this, that suppressing emotions, it can become like a coping mechanism,
Right.
but it comes at a cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's this other story of Natalie,
Okay.
this woman with MS, and she really downplayed how much stress she was under,
Yeah.
taking care of her sick husband.
Oh, wow.
So she was minimizing her own needs, putting on a brave face.
Do you think that's common?
It's incredibly common,
Yeah.
especially, I think, for women.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of, socialized to be the caretakers.
Right.
To put others first.
Right.
And Mate suggests, that this can lead to just a buildup of these unexpressed emotions that can eventually, take a toll.
Yeah, that's tough. Like a tough cycle to break.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think about Barbara Ellen,
Okay.
who refused conventional treatment for breast cancer.
Right, right.
Do you think societal expectations played a role in her decision there?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But Mate definitely raises these questions about personal autonomy
Mm-hmm.
and, how these pressures from society can influence our choices,
Right.
even when we're facing these serious
I
illnesses.
feel like everyone has an opinion about what you should do, but it's your body, it's your life. Yeah.
And Mate really encourages us to think critically about those pressures
Yeah.
and to make choices that are right for us,
Right.
aligned with our values
Yeah.
and our needs.
Exactly.
He doesn't advocate for or against any particular treatment,
Right.
but he really stresses the importance of looking at the whole picture,
Yeah.
including our emotional landscape.
So it's not just about treating the physical symptoms, but understanding those deeper factors, emotional, psychological.
Precisely. It's about going beyond the surface
Yeah.
and understanding how all these things are connected,
Yeah.
these different factors.
It's so fascinating how Maté connects individual stories to these bigger patterns,
Yeah.
you know? He also talks about how childhood experiences can have this lasting impact
Mhm.
on our emotional development and how we respond to stress,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's not saying like childhood is destiny or anything like that,
Yeah.
but that those early experiences, they kind of lay a foundation that can impact us for years.
Absolutely. And he argues that, those early experiences really shape
Mm-hmm.
our understanding of ourselves, the
Yeah,
world,
right.
and our ability to cope with challenges.
So we can carry those patterns, those responses with us
Totally.
into adulthood.
Absolutely. Like, think back to Natalie.
The woman with MS.
Yeah, Matisse suggests that, her role as a peacemaker in childhood,
Mm-hmm.
always trying to like smooth things over, combined with her husband's demanding nature,
Yeah.
might have contributed to her developing MS.
So it's like a pattern repeating.
Yeah.
And then there's Barbara Ellen, too,
Right, yeah.
whose tragic death from breast cancer, Maté suggests it could be linked to her unstable upbringing
Yeah.
and her difficulty asserting herself.
Right.
It really makes you think about how much unspoken pain we carry from our past.
Yeah.
And how that could be impacting us in ways we don't even realize.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
Right.
It is. And Maté doesn't shy away from these tough questions.
Yeah.
He really pushes us to think about how childhood neglect,
Yeah.
disrupted attachment, can really shape us, even years later.
So are you saying like our past experiences can literally get under our skin?
In a way, yes.
Wow.
But it's not about blaming our parents
Right.
or blaming the past, but more about understanding those forces that shaped us
Right.
and how they might be playing out today.
Right. It's like they become a lens
Yeah,
through which we view the world and ourselves.
absolutely. And those lenses can be tinted by fear, insecurity,
Yeah.
a sense of unworthiness.
Right.
And all of that can impact how we respond to stress, how we relate to others,
Yeah.
even how our bodies function.
We've been talking a lot about emotions and stress. But Maté also explores this idea that our beliefs themselves can impact our health.
Right.
What's that about?
So he brings in this work of Bruce Lipton,
Okay.
who suggests that our beliefs, our perceptions, can directly influence what happens on a cellular level.
Hold on, I need to like wrap my head around that for a second.
Yeah.
How can our beliefs impact our cells?
So Lipton's argument is that the cell membrane,
Okay.
not just the nucleus, plays a key role in this.
Okay.
So think of it like this. The nucleus has our genes, right? But the membrane is like the brain of the cell,
Okay.
deciding which genes get turned on.
So our beliefs are like instructions
Kind of, yeah.
for our cells. That's powerful.
It is a really powerful concept.
Yeah.
And Maté presents, stories of patients whose beliefs and attitudes seem to have actually influenced their healing process. It really makes you think about, the power of the mind for better health.
Right. It's not about denying the reality of an illness,
No, of course not.
but understanding like the mind's role in
Yeah.
the process,
Absolutely.
both the development and the healing.
Yeah.
So with all this information, what does Maté suggest we do?
So he introduces this concept of the 7 A's of healing.
7 A's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which he sees as pathways to, greater wholeness. These are acceptance, awareness, anger, autonomy, attachment, assertion, and affirmation.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of A's.
It is a lot of A's.
It sounds like these are like tools for understanding ourselves better,
Yeah.
changing our relationship to our health,
He emphasizes that these aren't like quick fixes,
Right.
but more like principles to embrace
Mm-hmm.
for a deeper understanding
Yeah.
of ourselves
Yeah.
and how our emotions and beliefs and experiences are all connected.
So it's about the journey,
Exactly.
not just the destination.
Exactly.
He wants us to figure out which of these A's resonate most with us,
Absolutely.
with our challenges.
It's a deeply personal thing.
Yeah, for me, like the idea of awareness really stands out, like
Yeah.
really paying attention to my inner world, my emotions, how my body reacts to stress. Like I need to be more aware of the signals my body is giving me.
That's a really powerful first step. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because without that awareness, it's hard to make any real changes.
Yeah.
It's like driving with your eyes closed. You're bound to crash eventually.
Right.
Right.
And then there's acceptance. Is that like resigning ourselves to illness or bad situations?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's more about acknowledging the reality of our experience,
Yeah.
both good and bad, without judging ourselves
Right.
or trying to resist what is.
So acceptance, along with awareness, can actually help us heal.
Maté believes so.
Okay.
He also highlights the importance of anger.
Anger.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He doesn't see it as a bad thing.
Right.
He sees it as a healthy and necessary emotion.
I think that's where a lot of us struggle.
Yeah, I think so too.
We're taught to be nice, avoid conflict,
Mm-hmm.
that anger is bad,
Right.
destructive.
But Maté suggests that healthy anger can actually help us set boundaries,
Okay.
protect ourselves, speak up for what we need.
It's about recognizing our worth.
Exactly. It's not about lashing out,
Right.
but about finding that balance
Yeah.
between honoring our needs and maintaining those healthy relationships.
So we've got awareness, acceptance, anger. What about this idea of autonomy that Maté keeps bringing up?
Well, he sees autonomy as recognizing our inherent worth
Okay.
and our right to make choices that are aligned with our values, even if they're unconventional or unpopular.
So taking ownership of our lives, not letting fear or outside pressure, dictate our decisions.
Exactly.
That makes sense, but it also sounds really hard.
It can be challenging,
Yeah.
especially if we've been conditioned to put others first.
You're right.
Or to conform, to societal expectations.
Right.
Maté actually shares a personal story about his own hidden limp.
His what?
His hidden limp.
Okay.
Which was a physical manifestation of this emotional suppression he was experiencing.
Wait, so he was walking differently
Yeah.
because of something emotional?
It's an example of what's called somatization,
Oh, okay.
which is basically when emotional distress expresses itself through physical symptoms,
Wow.
often without us realizing it.
So our bodies really are trying to tell us something.
They are.
That's a little freaky.
It is. It's kind of freaky, but it's also really fascinating.
Yeah.
And he encourages us to pay attention to those subtle signals, even if we don't fully understand them.
Right.
Those aches, those pains, those illnesses, they might be trying to communicate something deeper.
But he's not saying that every symptom is directly caused by emotions.
No, not at all.
Okay.
He's just encouraging us to be open to the possibility.
Yeah. Right.
That our physical health is a reflection of our emotional well-being.
I see.
He even suggests that a serious diagnosis, while obviously frightening, can also be a catalyst for change.
Okay. I mean, most people would see a diagnosis as like a purely negative thing.
Of course, it's a huge challenge. Right? But Maté sees it as an opportunity for self-reflection and reevaluating what's important. It can be a wake-up call.
Like forcing us to confront what really matters.
Exactly.
Wow.
He shares these stories of patients who, when they're facing their own mortality, they find a deeper appreciation for life, stronger connections, a willingness to let go of what's not serving them.
So the illness becomes like a teacher in a way.
In a way, yeah. It guides them to a more authentic life.
But that brings us back to this idea of healing, right? For Maté, it's more than just getting rid of the symptoms, isn't it?
It's about wholeness.
Yeah.
It's about addressing those emotional and spiritual aspects as well.
Yeah.
It's about deepening our connection to ourselves, our bodies, the world around us.
So we covered awareness, acceptance, anger, and autonomy.
Yeah.
What about attachment? What does Maté mean by that?
So he's talking about our innate need for connection. Love, belonging, it's really foundational to our emotional well-being and our ability to thrive.
He talks a lot about secure attachment in childhood.
Yeah.
How does that play out when we're adults?
So children who have secure attachments, they learn to trust that their needs will be met, that they're worthy of love and care, and that the world is relatively safe and predictable.
And for those who don't have that?
They might develop these insecure attachment patterns, which can lead to difficulties with trust, intimacy, managing emotions later on.
So it's not just about childhood. It affects us as adults.
Absolutely. These early attachment experiences, they can really affect our relationships and our well-being throughout our lives.
Wow.
And that's why Maté stresses this idea of conscious attachment.
Okay.
That's, actively seeking out those healthy, supportive relationships throughout our lives.
So it's about choosing to be vulnerable, like opening ourselves up to connection, even if it feels risky.
Yeah, and recognizing that we're not alone in this.
Right.
We're wired for connection. And those connections can be really powerful sources of healing and resilience.
So we've got autonomy and attachment. Where does assertion fit in?
Assertion, for Maté, is the natural outcome of embracing both autonomy and healthy attachment.
So it's like the next step.
Yeah, precisely. When we feel secure in ourselves and our relationships, we're more likely to communicate our needs directly,
Okay.
set boundaries, stand up for what we believe in.
It's about expressing ourselves without fear of judgment or rejection,
And recognizing that our voice matters. We have a right to be heard,
Yeah.
and our needs deserve respect.
This sounds connected to the anger that we talked about earlier.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Maté sees healthy anger as a vital part of assertion.
Okay.
It's about using that energy constructively, not letting it harm us or others.
So not lashing out, but channeling that fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In a way that empowers us.
Okay, so we've got acceptance, awareness, anger, autonomy, attachment, and assertion. What's the final A in Maté's framework?
The final A is affirmation.
Affirmation. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this like, positive affirmation?
It's about the power of positive self-talk, yeah.
Okay.
Choosing to focus on our strengths, our accomplishments, what we're grateful for.
Like counteracting those negative voices in our heads that say we're not good enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our thoughts. And those thoughts have a real impact on our reality.
This sounds a lot like the power of belief stuff we were talking about before.
It is very connected.
With Bruce Lipton and the cell membrane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maté really blends insights from psychology, biology, and spirituality to create this holistic vision of healing.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we're more than just our bodies,
Right.
our emotions, our thoughts.
Yep.
We're these complex beings. And true healing has to address all of those dimensions.
It takes the pressure off having to be perfect all the time.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, and strong.
Yeah.
And knowing all the answers.
It encourages us to be, like, gentle with ourselves. Right.
Absolutely.
Practice self-compassion.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that we're all doing our best.
We are.
Yeah.
And Maté reminds us, we're not alone in this journey.
Yeah.
Our individual healing contributes to this collective healing.
But before we go too far down that road, can you remind me what that last A was again?
That was affirmation.
Affirmation.
Focusing on the positive.
Yeah.
Recognizing our strengths.
Okay, so we've explored 6 of the 7 A's. Acceptance, awareness, anger, autonomy, attachment, and affirmation. What's that final A?
The final A is...
Oh, right. It's affirmation, focusing on the positive and recognizing our strengths, right? Okay, so we've explored all the 7 A's. Acceptance, awareness, anger, autonomy, attachment, and assertion and affirmation.
We got them all.
Wow, Maté really packs a lot into this book.
He does. There's so much in there.
It's like he's giving us a roadmap for a more fulfilling and meaningful life,
Yeah.
But it's not like a one-size-fits-all approach, right?
Not at all.
Right.
Remember, he encourages us to figure out which of these A's resonate with us the most, It's about personal exploration.
Right.
And finding what works for you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's not about blindly following rules, but using these principles like guideposts on our own journey.
Yeah.
It's about becoming aware of our patterns, understanding the forces that have shaped us, making choices that move us toward, greater well-being and health. It's kind of empowering to think that we have more control over our health than we realize.
It is?
But it's also a little daunting.
Yeah. It is.
Where do we even begin?
I think the first step is just being open to the idea.
Okay.
Maté challenges us to question some of our assumptions about this mind-body connection.
Right.
And to see ourselves as whole beings, not just a bunch of symptoms.
It's like a shift in perspective.
It is. It's a huge shift.
We're being invited to be active in our own healing,
yes.
Not passive.
Participating?
It can be scary,
Yeah.
but also liberating.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean for our listener? What are some key takeaways from when the body says no?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that our bodies are constantly trying to communicate with us.
Okay.
Those aches, those pains, those illnesses,
Yeah.
they might be signals that something deeper is going on.
Like our bodies are whispering to us.
Or sometimes shouting.
Right.
Trying to get our attention.
And Maté's encouraging us to actually listen.
He is.
But he's not saying that every symptom has an emotional root, right?
Right.
It's more about exploring the possibility.
Yeah, being open to it.
So it's not about ignoring medical advice.
No.
Or self-diagnosing.
No, not at all.
It's about taking that holistic approach to our health.
And recognizing that healing is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
It's this continuous self-discovery,
right.
growth and transformation.
It's about becoming more aware of our patterns,
Yeah.
cultivating self-compassion,
Yeah.
learning to, as Maté says, dance differently.
Beautifully put.
Right.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey. We're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And our individual healing contributes to the healing of everyone.
That's a beautiful thought to end on, a reminder that we're all part of something bigger.
Yeah.
Our well-being is connected to the well-being of everyone else.
And the planet.
Yeah.
The planet as a whole.
If you're intrigued by what we've talked about today, definitely check out When the Body Says No.
It's a great book.
It is.
So much to learn from it.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, this has been great.
It has.
Really fascinating.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here.
Absolutely not.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep listening to those whispers from your body.
They're talking to you.
You might be surprised by what you hear.
It's really about recognizing that we are more than just our physical symptoms.
Right.
We're not just our emotions or our thoughts.
Yeah.
We're complex beings. And true healing really has to address all those different dimensions.
It takes the pressure off of us,
Yeah.
to have to be perfect all the time, to be strong and know all the answers.
We're all works in progress.
Yeah.
Right.
It encourages us to be kind to ourselves,
Yep.
to practice self-compassion.
Absolutely.
And just acknowledge that we're all doing our best.
We're all doing the best that we can
with what we've got.
Absolutely.
And Maté reminds us that we're not alone in this.
No, we're not.
Right.
We're not alone. And our individual healing, it contributes to this collective healing.
I love that.
It's a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
That we're all in this together.
So what does this all mean, for our listener? What are some key takeaways from this deep dive, into Maté's work?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that our bodies are always trying to communicate with us.
Okay.
And those aches and pains, those illnesses, they might be signals that something deeper is going on.
It's like our bodies are whispering.
Or shouting sometimes, trying to get our attention.
Yeah.
And Maté encourages us to listen.
Yeah, to pay attention.
To pay attention.
But, like we talked about before, he's not saying every symptom is caused by, emotional stuff.
Right.
Right.
He's not saying that.
It's more about, exploring that possibility.
Being open to the connection.
Yeah, and not ignoring, medical advice.
Of course not.
Or trying to diagnose ourselves.
Right. It's not about that.
It's more about understanding that mind-body connection.
Absolutely.
And taking, a holistic approach to our health.
100%.
And recognizing that healing is a journey.
Yes.
Not like a destination.
Not a quick fix.
Right. It's ongoing.
It is.
It's a process.
It's a process of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Growth, transformation.
It's about being more aware of those patterns, cultivating that self-compassion.
Yes.
And learning to dance differently.
That's it.
Like Maté says.
That's a great way to put it.
It's a powerful image.
It is.
And remember, we're not alone in this.
We're not.
We're all connected.
Yes, we are.
Our well-being is connected to everyone else's well-being.
To the planet.
To the planet.
To everything.
It's a beautiful thought to end on, I think.
It is.
That we're all part of this larger web of life.
It's a beautiful thing.
So if you're intrigued by what we've talked about today, I encourage you to check out When the Body Says No.
It's such a good book.
It really is.
There's so much to learn from it.
It's a great starting point for, exploring this whole idea of the mind-body connection.
It is.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful.
I always enjoy these conversations.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring. Keep learning.
Keep asking questions.
And keep listening to your body.
It's talking to you.
You might be surprised by what you hear.